V'zehu hine mitaso shli Shlomo, and this is the concept of, this is the bed of Shlomo, shebichinas mita hanal, that the concept of this bed, hulihios giloi ha'or mibichinas melach sha'sholom shalo, is to have the revelation of the light from the concept of the king, that peace belongs to him, that Shlomo refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like we said, this refers to Soviv Kol Almin, the Yichud of Soviv and Memale, which is the union upon the bed of that which encompasses and that which fills creation. And this is why also in Medrash Rabbah it says about this pasuk that this is the bed of Shlomo, Al Birchas Kohanim, that this refers to the blessing of the Kohanim, Asher heim chosmim v'yasim l'cha shalom, that they end the bracha, and he shall place upon you peace. That the revelation of the Birchas Kohanim is very high, Giloi of Elokus, and so too the concept of the Bed of Shlomo is also such a revelation. Vayin od me'inyan mita behashmato sof chilek aleph. Look what it says about the concept of the bed in the Hashmatos of Zohar HaKadosh. Simin Chafei Daf Ches Amud Aleph Shehu B'chinas Mizbeach, that the bed is the concept of the Mizbeach. I guess you have a revelation upon the Mizbeach as well. It's also B'chinas Malchus. And I guess there's also Halan Hamshacha. Look what it says in Bereshis. On the verse, these were the strong men from the world, from before, the men of name. So what does it say? Me'olam, from the world, from before, from forever. Damitasor shli Shlomo. That's the bed of Shlomo. The Giborim Asher Me'olam. Who are these strong men? These were the same strong men that are surround the bed of Shlomo. B'mikdash Melech Kasav Sham, B'Sefer Hadras Melech Simin Kuf Kaf Ches, and the Mikdash Melech, and in Sefer Hadras Melech it says, B'Zohar Chelik Gimel Suf Parshas Balak Taf Reshud Suf Amud Beis, U'Mispar Rova Yisrael, it says, and to count the fourth of Israel, Rova Yisrael Hiavaya, or the one who has intercourse with Israel, so to speak, that this refers to Hashem. That this concept of the union with Israel. She Malchus, Shemekabelis Misrael de La'ela, which is this concept of Malchus. That's Rova Yisrael, the one that Yisrael, so to speak, is Rova. That receives from Yisrael above. That's Malchus, that receives from Yisrael, like we said, Tiferes. And that unites with Malchus, V'chad milahi Rova. And this is one word, Rova. Kamada Samris, Rovetz Tachas Masao, like it says, crouches underneath its burden. The concept of crouching, I guess, and lying down. Revia Ado Dechsivine Mitaso Shli Shlomo. Like it says, this is the bed of Shlomo Ad Kan refers to lying on the bed, I guess. To receive Mizeyuv and Maamar Harabos Vayigash Parsha Tzadik Dalet Daf Kuvav Amud Beis Binyan Rova Yisrael. But this you can understand what it says in Medrash Rabbah Vayigash about the concept of Rova Yisrael. I guess you have to look over there to see the context. B'Zohar Chelik Beis Parsha Shmos Daf Hey Amud Aleph Al Pasuk Ve'ele Shmos Bnei Yisrael. And in Zohar Shmos it says Rabbi Yehuda Pasach, Rabbi Yehuda opens Hine Mitasor Shli Shlomo, that here's the bed of Shlomo. Da'i Shchinta, that's the Shechina. Shishim Giborim Savivla, 60 strong men surrounded. Elaine Inun Shitin Ribo de Malache Law. These are these 600,000 supernal angels. The Inun Mechela the Shchinta that are from the army of the Shchinta. So you have the bed itself, where it's so to speak the Shekhinah itself, and the 60 strong men correspond with the angels that surround the Shekhinah. The Nochzach sim Yaakov leMitzrayim, that came down with Yaakov to Egypt. Hadau dechsiv v'ele shemos kol ayin sham. Like it says, these are the names of Bnei Yisrael, like Habai Mitzrayim. So the Shekhinah came down with Yaakov to Mitzrayim, and just like Yaakov had those that came down with him, so too the Shekhinah, so to speak, came down with the host of Malachim. So, l'chora, this pasuk not only refers to Yitzias Mitzrayim, but also Bias Mitzrayim, coming to Mitzrayim. Why do you have these strong men from the fear of the nighttime? Because the exile is called the nighttime. So the ministering angels came down with us to Egypt because of the Gallows that we were going into. That even when we were exiled to Egypt, the Shekhinah was with us, even before we became a nation. Therefore, 60 strong men surround her. Find od me'inyan shishim giborim beparshas va'era daf lamed. So if I'm going to look what it says about 60 strong men in Parshas Va'era. Ubeparshas Beshalach daf memches amud beis v'yasuf Yaakov ragla v'lamita. And in Parshas Beshalach, in Zohar Kadosh, where it says that Yaakov gathered his legs into the bed. It says the bed, like the pasuk here, is the bed of Shlomo. The beginning, the Bahai mitaksiv raglea yordos moves, because by the bed it says that her legs go down to death, because like we said, the bed corresponds with Malchus, because the concept of Malchus descends and goes down and is enclosed also in the lowest world of Asiyah. That's why it says, and he gathered his legs, to, I guess, elevate them, bring them back up. V'aynu b'ayin b'Torah or Parshas Yisro b'dibur maskil b'chodesh hashlishi. Because it says in Torah or in Yisro, by the third month, which is not the case with Baruch Shem, which I guess would correspond with the descent of Malchus. Whereas Shema is the Yichud Elyon above. Mizeh Yuvan Maimer Razal. And with this, we can understand what our sages said, Hayashan tachas amita b'sukkah lo yatsa. That if you sleep under the bed in the sukkah, you do not fulfill your obligation of sleeping in the sukkah. Lo yatsa ydechu vaso. Ki tachas amita sham raglei hayordos chul. Because under the bed, that's where you have the concept of the legs going down into the klippos. It's the concept of Gallows. It's the concept of going down to the lower worlds and not elevation or the resting of the Shekhinah, which is what you're supposed to have in the Sukkah. The divine presence in Begilui, in a revealed state. And therefore, under the bed is not the right place, does not correspond with that revelation. Vodki Sukkah imay law. And further, because the Sukkah is the supernal mother, Hasocheches lebechinas rosh hamita, which surrounds the head of the bed and not under the bed. So it's the difference between Tachas Hamita and the Rosh Hamita. We know that Yaakov bowed LeRosh Hamita. And if Yaakov is in Yisrael, the concept of Tiferes, and the Rosh Hamita is the concept of Imay law. So you need to get the concept of the Imay law, which is the Rosh Hamita, and certainly not the Tachas Hamita, the under the bed. Uberabos bekawelas kuvches bez al pasukilo lakalim hameruts. Rabos in Koheles on the verse, those who are light of foot do not have the running. The running is not to them, or the speed. Ki Avinu Yaakov Esmol, because previously our father Yaakov, Visa Yaakov Raglov, it says he lifted up his legs. He was able to go quickly. Vayom Ksiv, and now it says V'yesov Yaakov Raglov, and then that he gathered up his legs. Meaning to say that even though, I guess it's bringing a proof, that even though it says the Yaakov was swift, that he was light on his legs, nonetheless, in the end, it says that he gathered his legs up. He was not able to continue that. So that's like the pasuk Lo Lekalim HaMerutz. So that's the medrash in Koheles Rabbah. Ki neksiv nosati lecha mahalchim, because it's written, I'm giving you those who travel. What does it mean to travel? That is the soul to descend to the body and to be clothed in a body. That's called a traveler. Therefore, about that it says the Yaakov lifted up his legs to travel down. And that's the concept of you should celebrate for me 3 holidays called legs. Meaning to say 3 journeys, 3 revelations downwards, 3 hamshachos. Which is not the case when the tzaddik is nistalik, goes up, nikra v'yesov Yaakov Raglov. That's called gathering in your legs. It's the opposite of the regalim, to go downwards, or the descent of the soul. It's the soul, so to speak, going back up. V'hainu, that is to say, Shmis Asif, Kol Habirurim, Gallows, that are elevated and included back upwards, all of the purifications and elevations, Shabir Kol Yemei Chayav, that were purified through all the days of his life, Shaya Bechinas Mahalech, in which he was the concept of a traveler, and at the end you gather it all back up, everything that was gathered. Kol Zemis Asif Ve'oleh Al Hamito, all of this is, so to speak, gathered up and goes back up upon the bed. Shehi Shechina, which is the concept of the Shechina, to elevate everything back to godliness. And to this you draw down the supernal union. This is known the concept of the Hilula of Rashbi, that the day of passing is compared to a wedding. Why? Because it's on the bed. That's when you gather yourself onto the bed and you have the supernal union. Therefore, all the days of your life are, so to speak, a preparation for the wedding, and the day of death is, so to speak, getting up on the wedding bed to have a union. The K'moshe of Od be'inyan v'yesov Raglov, and as it says further upon this idea of that he gathered in his legs. And this is similar to what it says in Zohar Vayechi about the Vayechi talks about the passing of Yaakov. There it refers to this concept as well. And in Zohar Bashalach, in our Pasha, it says that the angel of Hashem traveled, called Milin de Malka, Biada de Matrona Ismasrun Chulu. It says all the matters of the king are given over to the matron called Zainin Delay, all of his weapons. Romchim, V'sayafim Chulu, the spears and the swords are given to the squire, I guess. Or to the battle maiden. He named Tasso, or it could be a matron. Should be the masculine, I guess. You have to see inside if it's also abbreviated like that. And that's why it says, this here is the Bed of Shlomo, Shishim Giburim Saviv La, that there are 60 strong men that surrounded Chulu. So in Parshas Beshalach as well, the concept of the splitting of the sea, you have the angels that are, so to speak, given the weapons that's like the 60 strong men, because we already said that going out of Mitzrayim is like this pasuk of Hine Mitaso. V'sof Parshas Beshalach Taf Samech Vav Amud Beis, and further in Zohar Beshalach it says, Shishim Giborim Chulu. Who are these 60 strong men? Inun Shitin Isnehiru B'Treisar Tchumin Chulu. These are the 60 that shine into the 12 boundaries. And this makes sense. It fits with what's brought in the Medrash Mitaso, that here's the bed, Yud Beis Mitos, that there are 12 beds, Yud Beis Tchumin, and 12 boundaries, which I guess in the Medrash itself may not seem so clear, but if you put it in the context of the 12 Gvulei Alochson, I guess, or the 12 boundaries, or the 12 for 12 Shvatim, maybe it makes more sense. In first glance, we could say that what are these 12 that surround the bed? 12 boundaries. These are like the 12 leaves that surround the flower, the rose. And this Karesh Parshas Bereishis, that it says in the beginning of Parshas Bereishis, you have thorns and flowers, and leaves that surround the rose to protect it. As well known that the thorns and the leaves protect the rose. They're sharp and jagged, the leaves as well. Reish Parshas Bereishis brings us at the beginning of Parshas Bereishis, but it says over there it's Chamish Alin Tekifin. It's 5 leaves. Not sure why it says Tlesar. Fimashkasu Bezor Hachamasham. Over, maybe it's according to the Pirush of Zohar Chama. V'nikra Giburim, and they're called strongmen. Sheshura Shir Gimel Tikuni Dikna, that the 13 are called strong because they come from the 13 strands of the beard. Megvuros Atik Yomin, from the Gvura of Atik. The Gvuros of Atik create the 13 attributes of mercy as they are compared to strands of the beard. On that level. Because there's different concepts and levels within the Yud Gimel Midos. But the fact that they're Gvuros, strong men with weapons, that's the concept of the Gvuros of Atik. And I guess the Shoshana would be the Shkinta in this context. As is known, the hairs of the beard are harder than the hairs of the head. In the Lashon Zohar, in order to break and to bend, called Gizrei Din, in all manners of judgment, of the decrees of judgment. Like it says in the Eder Rabbah, which talks about the Yud Gimel Midos, the Dikna. Like it says in the verse that he gives snow like fleece. Yoser Yishlomar, again, because the concept of the whiteness of the snow corresponds with the Giloi HaKeser, because it says Levushek Islag Chivar and so forth. So that Maamar talks about this idea as well. Gvur of Atik. Yoser Yishlomar, we can say further though, Ki Inyan, or even more so, Ki Inyan Shishim Giborim, that the concept of the 60 strongmen, Nimshach, Mehe Gvuros, Mimutakos, is drawn from the 5 sweetened strictnesses. Shemhei Olin Tekifin Disachram Shoshana. Ah, there he says it. That's the 5 strong leaves, the Sachrin Shoshana, that surround the Shoshana. Because Shel Bracha and the cup of blessing, the Yosva al Chamish Itzboin, which sits upon the 5 fingers, Vehim Anikra Yeshuos, and they are called Yeshuos, like it says in the beginning of Zohar Bereshis there. So the 60 strongmen correspond with a sweetened Gvuros, the Gvuros of the rose. It's not just regular Gvuros, it's Gvuros that are part of the rose. The rose would sweeten these strictnesses. In fact, that it's part of the rose. And it says, like the rose amongst the thorns, so too my beloved is among the daughters. That what are the daughters? These are the 12 cattle, the Bria, Yud Beis Shvatim, the 12 tribes, Vim Plesot, all in Canal. Those are the 13 leaves, like were mentioned before. And so when these 5 strictnesses spread out into these 12 that we mentioned, so it's found that each one of these is composed of 5. So 12 times 5. So in Shishim Giborim, that's the concept of 60 strong men. That's how you get to 60. Like it says in Zohar, that it shines in the 12 boundaries, and that's why it says from the strong men of Israel, Shem Givuros Mimutakos, Velo Gvuros Kashos, that there are sweetened strictnesses and not harsh strictnesses. Ki Yisrael hu b'chinas ki sarisa im Elokim, because Yisrael is the concept of that you battled with Elokim, you ruled over Elokim. That's why he's called his name. That means to say he overruled Elokim. Elokim is the judgment. And Yisrael became stronger than the attribute of judgment. Shushem Elokim, which is the concept of the name Elokim. And that comes from the name Havaya, the mercies to take over the judgments. And I found a proof for this. The Mikdash Melech Achrei, look over there, Shishim Giburim, that it says 60 strong men. We'll see what is this referring to. That this refers to the 5 gvuros, and it's spread into the 6 sides, the 6 boundaries of Zah. So 5 times 6, B'nasim Bashishim, and then it expands to 60. And these are the 5 tough or strong leaves. This is the end of the quote. Mikdash Melech Achrei. It seems to fit with this idea that the Hegvuros, that multiplied to 60, is as it spreads down into Zah and so forth, that the 60 is a multiple of the Hegvuros somehow. That he says clearly there that the 60 men are also the 5 leaves, the 5 strong leaves that surround the rose. But over there it says that they're 60 because they become multiplied by the 6 sides. We must say that is also referring to the 12 diagonals, boundaries of diagonal, which are the concept within Ziranpin. Or you could say It's like it says in Zohar, with the concept of the 12 tribes, that since Yaakov blessed the 12 tribes, you have the concept of the 12 tribes there. And says there in Zohar Vayetze that these are 12, and these are, since the Kol Chad Kalil Bechavrei, each one is composed of its friend, therefore it's multiplied. So the 12 again is going to be multiplied. And in Parsha Zohar Achrei it also talks about the 60 strong men. And in Zohar Noso, concerning the 12 sacrifices of the princes of the tribes. Asherhaya Alim Shishim, Atudim Shishim, that you have, when it concludes the counting of all of them, you have 60 rams and 60 sheep and so forth. And it brings there as a proof, it says, like it's written, Shishim Giborim Savivla, that there are 60 strong men that surround it. Because from the side of strictnesses, it says that as part of the gifts to the Mishkan were one spoon of 10 gold. And these 60 rams, you had 5 from each nasi. And since there were 12 princes, that's why it comes to 60. V'hem shishim giburim, and it says straight out there that these are the 60 strong men. Imkein move on the Perish canal, so it's understood that just like the Perish that we said. Kol echad miyud matos, that each one of the 12 matos, remember he said at the beginning that mitos Shlomo is also the matos, the tribes. Shem yud beis bakar the bria, which are the 12 cattle of bria underneath the Yam, which is Malchus. Kol echad kol hegvuros hanal. Each one of these 12 is composed of the 5 strictnesses. And we mentioned Shem he alin takifin, which are the 5 strong leaves underneath the rose. With look at Pirish Hamikdash Melech Sham Shekasub Shem Shisha Gvuros Kol Echad Kol Mayud. And that's not like the Mikdash Melech who says that there are 6 Gvuros, each one, I mean, as it is in Zah, so to speak. Each one composed of 10 to get to 60. There are Ikarhem Hegvuros. That really, it's not 6 Gvuros, it's 5 Gvuros. Hu Charibo Mishnim Masar Nisim, and also because it comes from the 12 princes. Imkein Alkein Yishlomar Shahai Gvuros Mispashtim B'Kol Echad Min Yud Beis Bechinos Hanal. So we could say then that the 5 strictnesses spread out in each one of these 12 concepts, the Bria of the world of Bria. V'chein Hem Shishim Giburim. That's why they are 60 strong men. The Kiyotz B'Zen is spoiled by Makom Acher Binyan Das Eda.